Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Roxy, and welcome to my online discussion series where we will be delving into topics of my interest for one of three reasons. Number one is to learn, two is to laugh, or three is to satisfy some of my hyperfixations. I am someone who goes through phases of life where I'm literally just fucking obsessed with things books, TV shows, films, whatever, and they literally just become all consuming and my personality. Today, as you can tell by the title, is for the first reason, as I feel like a huge part of my life journey is to help others, and I just wanted to spread some advice because I also think 12-year-old me would have really appreciated someone who is older but not too much older to literally tell me what to do in a time of real anxiousness, because these are things that actually work rather than being told to go for a bath or a walk, because cams I think did us all dirty there. I do want to do a quick disclaimer before we get into this, and I've written it down, okay, just so I say this correctly. I also have my laptop here so that I'm saying the right things at the right time, because I have a lot to say, as I usually do, because I talk for England, and I just wanted to say it right. I am no mental health expert. I am just someone who has experienced both anxiety and depression for the past 15 years, and these are just the things that have worked for me in the past and that continue to implement in my everyday life. I now haven't had a panic attack for about 6 months, and as someone who has struggled chronically since they were like 6, 7, I think that's pretty darn good. But if you need further help, please talk to someone you trust or a medical professional. And if you have any other tips, please let me know, as I'd love to learn some more. Also, I can't stress this enough. If this video doesn't feel right for you to watch right now, girl, don't do it. It's okay. You do not have to watch this video. You need to trust your body, trust what it's telling you, and do what is right for you. So if this doesn't feel right for you, don't watch it. There is no judgment from me here, okay? I firstly just wanted to talk about what anxiety is, because I feel like in my life, my definitions of anxiety really have changed. And right now, I've realized and learned to accept it and be like, holy shit, I know why you're here now. And in all honesty, I'm actually quite grateful for you, which 10-year-old me would be like, I beg your pardon, what are you saying? But it is true. So, what is anxiety? Anxiety is just a natural physical response to stressful stimuli. That could be a roller coaster, a scary movie, someone you have a crush on. I know that used to be me. Used to. What am I talking about? So it's that's not the point. From my experience, I do feel like anxiety feels very different to nerves and excitement. But I think when you're young, it can all merge into a ball of overstimulation. Anxiety happens for many, many different reasons, but it is a natural protective strategy for your body to get through times of fear and stress. But it can become a problem, if you want to look at it that way, when it is continuous and is affecting your everyday life or prohibiting you from doing whatever the fuck you want to do. And I have spent the last 15 years saying no out of fear of being anxious. And you have to reach a point where you say, not today, because that isn't living, girl. That is just shielding your and protecting yourself from what is painful. But unfortunately, the only way to move past is to go through. You know that, oh my God, what the hell is it called? I'm going to have to look it up. That children's book that's like, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we have to go through it. Oh my God, Going on a Bear Hunt. My mum used to read me that all the goddamn time. Anyway, that book was true. You have to, unfortunately, face her head on. I'll be talking about that later. I also want to make something very clear, is that you don't need a diagnosis to know that you get anxious. I think we're in this climate of more progressive mental health discussion, which is fantastic. but I do think that you experiencing an emotion or sensation is enough for you to recognize that you need help. And I don't think anyone else should have to confirm or deny your experience. And this is coming from someone who has had a diagnosis since they were 10. So I'm not saying that they're not useful, but I do really think that everyone gets anxious. If you believe that you don't, you're probably lying, I'm afraid. And you're probably just not ready to accept that you've been through some shit that has caused you a lot of pain. And I totally get it. I'm not all there at all. I'm 21. I'm nowhere near there, wherever there is. I think that's all I wanted to say on what anxiety actually is. So let's move on to the steps now, shall we? So before we get into the nitty gritty of like what to do when you're in a environment of like anxiety or like literally in a fight or flight response, because I have had numerous times in my life where I have been in a consecutive fight or flight response. Someone give her a beat. I've been in a fight or flight response for like merging on a week. And that's like lack of sleep, lack of eating, consistent fear, the shakes, trigger warning, vomiting, all that absolute shite that you just don't want to experience, but is actually quite a normal and natural bodily experience to anxiety. Because this is something I learned, is that like I am a person who has always struggled with eating in a time of anxiousness. And I remember I had like the biggest like light bulb moment because I was told that like the body's digestive cereal. Oh god. The body's digestive system literally cuts down to something like 10%. Like when you're in a fight or flight response, it's just not instinctive for you to be able to eat. And I really struggle to do that. But obviously, food is fuel. You need it to survive. And sometimes, a lot of the time, this is obviously just my personal experience, eating actually helps me get over the hurdle of like extreme fight or flight. Because I think it just gives your body something else to do. Rather than stress, it's like, oh, I have to digest now. Anyway, my first step is in a time of, what word am I looking for? Stability. Build yourself an anxious routine so that you know you're capable of doing some things at least while you're in a state of stress. An anxious routine could be, for example, if you wake up anxious, jump in the shower. Because I'm a night shower, like I shower before I go to bed. I can't get into a bed dirty. Like that is crazy. So as soon as I wake up, I shower, and then I will immediately tell like my mum or my sister, I'm like, bro, feeling anxious today. Because what do they say? Problem shared is problem halved, or something like that. Like as long as you know, or the people around you know that you're just not feeling it, then the responsibility of having to be at 100% is just like gone. And hopefully then they can support you to the best of their ability, which is all we all really want, isn't it? Really, we just want to be seen, we just want to be loved, we just want to be heard. I think an anxious routine is really important because I really feel pressure to do the right thing or be the right person or do my best. And in a time of anxiety, I don't feel like I can be any of those things. And that could be one of the most difficult parts, is that I can't, I don't know, help my mum or support my sister or be a good friend. And obviously these are all like negative thoughts that don't equate to who I am at all, but it doesn't mean they aren't valid, and it doesn't mean that I should ignore them, because as I've previously said, the only way to get over anxiety is to hold her hand. It sounds disgusting, but it is true. Like you just have to be like, I see you. Oh my Takaya, I see you. You know what I mean? So bitch, please get an anxious routine going. Make your bed, have a shower, have one slice of toast and a glass of water, squash, juice, you fancy. I wouldn't have any caffeine because I do think caffeine can like, you know, the body naturally. So just stick to some gentle things, maybe a peppermint tea if you're feeling fancy. Porridge is great, but I also do think if you struggle with eating, the thought of making something for you to eat, yeah, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. Someone else can do that. My second step or tip whatever you want to call it, is unfortunately, as I have touched on before, accepting where you are. This is probably the most important step, but without a doubt, I think it is the hardest. I think it has taken me 21 years to realize that I've been in the pits and I need to change, because at the end of the day, your anxiety may have stemmed from an incident outside of your control, but you are the only person who can change how you feel and work through whatever it is you've experienced. I know literally everyone tells you that acceptance is key, and it sounds fucking cringe, but it is so true. I also think that anxiety is an experience and an emotion that is so awful that you reach a point of trying to avoid it at all costs, which is something I was in the routine of doing up until probably like 6 months ago. I'd always be like, yeah, I'm okay to be anxious, but like the physical sensations of anxiety are so horrendous that I would try and like deter at all costs, and that would be like avoidant, and that just becomes like an anxious avoidant attachment style. Which is really, really hard. Very understandable and very valid, but really, really difficult to overcome. But you know what? I'm not actually here for things to be easy. I also think that an element of acceptance is trusting that you're exactly where you need to be. Otherwise, you'd be somewhere else. I think that you need to have faith in the fact that the universe, God, source, literally whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, it's literally all the same thing, has your fucking back, and that there are no experiences that you've had or will have that you cannot get through. Like, the universe does not give you anything more than you are willing or able to handle. And I mean that like from the bottom of my heart. Like, when you're in an environment which feels like the fucking worst, it is the best opportunity for you to level up. Watch me level up. I think it's really easy to forget that there is nothing that you haven't gotten through, which is crazy. But all of the shit that you've been through, you've been able to get through, whether you've accepted them or worked through them or whatever, you've still got through it and got past it, and you're not in that experience anymore. So pat yourself on the back, bitch. I also want to make it very clear that whoever you believe in, God, universe, whatever, is you. And I know that sounds crazy, and that's probably something I can talk about in another episode. Life is external to you, you know? Like, I literally quote this and I actually get cringed out, but bro was right. Didn't Timothy Chalamet say life is coming from you, not at you? Like, you have your experiences because you have allowed yourself to have them, or you are meant to have them. So there's not one thing or experiences that you haven't had a hand in facilitating to happen. Hello. I just wanted to add in while I was editing, because I don't think I worded what I was trying to say correctly, but what I meant by that was that taking ownership of your experience and your environment is the best way to demonstrate to yourself that you can change it and create the life that you want to live, because it's very easy for you to sit in a space of victimhood and get what you want from that, but you'll never really be fulfilled because you didn't do the work to get what you need and get what you want and set your boundaries, you know? That's what I meant by that. I think it's more of an empowering thing. It helps you claim yourself back and your power, rather than sitting in a state of me against the world kind of mentality, which is really, really painful. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing to be either, but I do think one feels better than the other. And the same goes for being anxious. Like, I remember when I think I was like 16 in like counselling in secondary school, and I remember being like, whoa, I think sometimes anxiety is a choice. Not that anxiety is a choice at first, but continuing to use outdated ways of processing is, you know, when people say, oh, it's a cry for help. I hate that phrase, but it is a demonstration of a requirement or a need, you know? It's like, oh, I'm so anxious, like I need help. Or this anxiety is demonstrating that I need to support me better. So even though acceptance is really, really hard, please, if you're going to take one thing from this video, just trust that there's not one thing you can't get through, and that nothing is given to you that you can't deal with. And sometimes our biggest setbacks are our biggest future tools. Like me being anxious right now is going to give me the whole toolbox for later. And that is crazy. Tip number 3, which, I mean, I was going to say it's really important, but I wouldn't have fucking written it down if it wasn't, would I? Tip number 3 is to ground yourself. I think that grounding is one of the best ways of bringing you back into yourself, because anxiety is an experience that, even like, I feel like energetically is so outwards. It's like, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious. And then it kind of like consumes the space you're in. And grounding brings everything back into here, because all of the answers are in here. Examples of grounding yourself can be doing a meditation, yoga, bit in movement, going for a walk, whatever. I think that guided meditations are probably like one of the most helpful things that I have like ever implemented into my routine, because you're being told what to do, but all of the energy and focus is brought back in here. I feel like the OG grounding technique that my mum used to do with me is like the 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, you know, that one. I'll put an illustration up of like all the things rather than me just explaining it. But my mum used to do that with me when I was in the middle of a panic attack. My friend used to do that with me at school, because as I've said before, I really used to struggle. I think it was like year 9. I had like 1 or 2 days off every 2 weeks. They gave me a card, a get out of lesson free card. Did I use it? Of course I did. Why would I be in PE or maths if I didn't have to be? That is not the point. I'm going on a tangent. I think grounding is really important because you have all of this energy inside and around in your like in your area. That sounds so weird. You have so much energy surrounding you in your in your little bubble that needs to be altered and moved and changed. And grounding really, really helps with that. I've started doing yoga like pretty frequently since the beginning of this year, and I love it. I'm not good, but that's not the point. It brings me back to myself. I do it before I go to sleep, and then I'll do a little journal, see what thoughts came up while I was doing yoga, because sometimes it's easy to quiet things down up there, and sometimes it's really, really hard. But both are normal and completely valid. My penultimate tip, which I was going to say is helpful again. Can someone tell me a new word? Just go outside. Just get it. Go outside. Go for a dog walk. If you don't have a dog, I'm really sorry for your loss. Maybe get one. Yeah, go for a walk. I don't live by the beach, but I wish I did, because like whenever I think of like a sensation that is like, it's like being at the beach and like being by waves, and I don't know. Same with like a forest. It's just like getting some trees, give Mother Nature back what she gave you and be like, girl, we got a thing going here. Isn't working for me right now, so you can take it and I'm going to learn from it, and she will have your back. I also think that because anxiety is so all-consuming, it's really important to connect with something that is bigger than you, and the world is much, much bigger than you. So go outside, take your socks off, stand in some grass, take some deep breaths, and remind yourself that you're exactly where you need to be, because you are. I also think rain is like a fantastic tool. It's literally the earth's way of cleansing. Like water is the element of cleansing and flow, so use her to your ability. And my final tip, there's obviously more, but I just wanted to narrow it down to 5 easy ones when you're in a time of like absolute need even, is to do things that little you would love to do. That could be, I don't know, like last October I got into oil pastels. Bear in mind I haven't done one for 3 months. I want to do one this week. I'm going to do one this week. I also have a puzzle. The film is still on it, but I need to do it. I also have a puzzle mat. Like, why I do this. I buy all of the requirements and the tools to do this activity, and then I don't do it. Anxiety is just a disconnection from the self. So a good way to get back to you is to ask little you what she likes, they likes to do, because you know what you need. All of the answers are inside, so you know exactly what you need in that moment. I'm not sure if I've mentioned before, but the reason you're anxious now is because of a feeling of not being safe previously. That could be due to having your boundaries crossed when you were young, not being able to say what you need, not being heard, being really scared. I also think that like sometimes you didn't realize that you were so nervous or so scared about something when you were young, but the feeling feels so intense and immense, and that is where some of the anxiety is coming from. So do things that little Roxy or little whoever loves to do. Like for me, that is watching films. I love movies. I used to watch movies all the time with my dad. My dad used to have the the DVD like files that were like material, and obviously everything is fucking material, but like I don't know, not like a folder material, not like Word or plastic, but like literal woven material with a zip on it, and then like a photo album but for DVDs and CDs. My dad used to have that. He used to have all the little Disney films in that. So watch Disney film, have a home cooked meal, ask if that can be made for you, do some drawing. I think a really good practice, and I've actually never done this, and this just came to me, is to maybe just shut your eyes and just like let the pencil draw whatever it is you're feeling and see what happens. And you know what? It's probably going to be really fucking ugly, but it's a really good tool to get out whatever it is you're feeling, because anxiety is really, really good at being stuck and staying put. Like, I am of the opinion that so many health issues are due to like emotional repression and prolonged periods of stress and depression. And I do want to say that I completely understand that like depression is very different to anxiety. Sometimes they go hand in hand. For me, they have in the past, but I know that not all people have that, but both are really strong examples of being disconnected from yourself and needing to look inside, because all anxiety is trauma. And I think we forget that, like, maybe not even forget, sometimes I think it's really easy to ignore that we've been through stuff, and it doesn't have to be a really big incident. It doesn't have to be like a car crash or a war zone or something like that, which are obviously examples of like deep trauma. But everyone on the planet has an example where their boundaries were crossed or their needs weren't met. And it's important to now realize that you can meet your needs, and it is your responsibility to do so, to live the life that you want to live, because otherwise, what is the point? Leave answers in the comments. Another one that could be really cute is to read a book that you loved when you were young, listen to music that is really nostalgic, write it down. Please, if you want to, leave your examples and tips in the comments. I would love to read some and reply to some. And try some out, really, because I think it's a really good idea to just find community in wounding. Even better, find community in healing, bitch. The answers are amongst us. I wanted to say a massive thank you if you got to the end of this video. I'm really, really grateful that you felt comfortable to listen to me, and please remember to talk to people. And even when it's really fucking tricky, you are exactly where you need to be. And as I've said before, struggle is the best opportunity to gain further understanding of yourself and to demonstrate your resilience, because you've got this far. And if you're watching this video, you're obviously on some sort of journey of further understanding or healing, which I think is like fantastic. Huge props to you. And I don't know, I'm just really grateful if you've watched the video. In all honesty, I did actually find this quite tricky to talk about, not necessarily because of the topic, but I think it's really easy to like underestimate the importance of what you're saying, and like who am I to tell you what to do? Do you know what I mean? But one thing I do know about me is that I'm really good at helping people, and that's part of the reason why I'm here. So I'm really, really grateful if you watch the video. And as I've said, please leave your tips in the comments. Give this video a like if you feel so inclined to, and subscribe, because I will be back next week with probably a lighter discussion. I have an idea in mind. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to follow through with it, but I think I should. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you feel so inclined, please give it a like and subscribe. And I'm sending you all my love on your journey. I hope you have and are having a fantastic day. And if you're not, well done. That's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Nobody's perfect. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'm sending you all my love today, and I wish you all the best. And I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.